Alright guys, I am back again with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. This time I got version 1 of my Stoicheia Lianorn deck. So version 1, everything through the first additional card pass through the booster set 7. And this deck allows you to boost your Vanguard with your entire back row all at once. Basically having them line up behind her like a marching band, in order to not only boost your Vanguard up to some ridiculous numbers, but also letting your Vanguard gain an extra drive check, and then later letting you restand 2 of those back row rear guards, so your rear guard attacks can be boosted as well. So a very cool deck, and as always we will be going through the deck real fast, and then we'll show it off in one card fight for you to see it in action. So starting first with the ride deck, we of course have our grade 0 starter, which is Announcing Wind of Spring, Corfi. So when she's rode upon, if you win second, draw a card. Standard D-Series starter, like always. Next up, for the grade 1, we have Budding of Pleasant Sounds, Gracia. So she has an auto ability that says when this unit is rode upon by Brilliant Tune Rectina, you may call this card to Rearguard Circle. And then she also has a continuous ability when she's on Rearguard Circle that says during the battle this unit boosted a Vanguard, this unit gets power plus 5,000. So pretty basic skills, letting you just call her out of your soul to Rearguard after you ride on top of her. Generally you want to call her to your back row center Rearguard Circle, since her continuous ability only grants her the extra power when she's boosting your Vanguard. But you can plop her there on your field, and she can be a 13k booster for your Vanguard, helping you fill in that back row so you can get the full effect of Lianorn's skill later. So, pretty simple skill, but very helpful. So, next for the grade 2, we have Brilliant Tune Rectina. So, her auto ability says when this unit is rode upon by a unit with Lianorn in its card name, you can Soul Blast 1 to choose a grade 1 or less card from your drop and call it to Rearguard Circle. So again, another ability helping you get grade 1s out onto your board, specifically helping you fill up that back row so you can get the full boost for Lianorn. She lets you call any grade 1 or less from your drop, so generally that's going to be something that you discarded off of your ride deck. So just a simple plus to your board. And then she also has her continuous ability when she's on Rearguard Circle that says if your back row has 3 or more Rearguards, this unit gets boost. So we do have a way to revive this unit from your drop, though generally speaking most of the time we have better targets for that skill. But if you do end up calling her, she can fill in any spots on your board that you need her in. You can plop her in the front row to be an attacker, you can put her in the back row to be a booster. So she doesn't end up on Rearguard Circle real often, but if she does, she can be a good versatile card for you to just fill in any slot you need filling in. So then lastly for the grade 3, we have Grand March of Full Bloom, Lianorn. So she has her activate ability that says once per turn, you can Counterblast 1 to draw a card, choose a card from your hand, and call it to Rearguard Circle or discard it. So this skill is just a Cannon Blast 1 for a draw 1 and a call 1. If you don't call it, you do have to discard, so that makes it a Cannon Blast 1 basically for a hand filter. So just make sure you have an open Rearguard Circle when you use this skill, and preferably something already in your hand that you would want to call. But if you can't avoid discarding or calling it over top of something, then it can be a good way to increase your card advantage. And then she's also got her auto ability, which is her main skill, that says when this unit attacks, you can Soul Blast 1 and discard a card from hand to boost this unit with all of your back row stand units with boosts. And if you boosted this unit with 3 or more units, this unit gets drive plus 1 until end of that battle, and at the end of that battle, you choose 2 of your back row rear guards and stand them. So very, very cool ability, letting your entire back row boost Lianorn, so you should be getting her up to some pretty insane numbers. Also, if you do have all 3 units in your back row boosting her, she does get the extra drive, which makes up for the discard part of her cost. Now, one thing to note with this skill is you do want to make sure you don't manually boost with the unit behind her when you attack with her. You want to no boost and then resolve her skill and let the skill cause all three of those units to boost. If you don't do that, then it won't count as her being boosted by 3 units and you won't get the extra drive check. So do keep that in mind when playing this card. But it makes your Vanguard very, very threatening. And then also at the end of that battle, you get to restand 2 of those back row units as well. So if you restand your left and right rear guards, that means your 2 rear guard attacks will be able to still be boosted as well. So she doesn't even interfere with your other attacks in any way. So very, very cool card. So that is the ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First off, for the grade 3s, we do have our 3 additional copies of Grand March of Full Bloom Lianorn, double frame rear, of course, for our Persona rides. Next up, we have 4 copies of Resonance Dragon. So he has a continuous ability that says if your unit's boosted a total of 3 or more times this turn, this unit gets power plus 5,000. So that should automatically come online as soon as you attack with Lianorn, which should be your first attack every turn. So the 3 units boosting her will count for this, so that'll immediately get him to an 18k body. And then he also has his auto ability that says at the end of the battle this unit attacked a Vanguard. If you have a Vanguard with Lianorn in its card name, and your unit's boosted a total of 5 or more times this turn, you can counterblast one and put this unit into your soul to choose one of your rear guards and stand it. So this is an incredibly powerful skill, letting you restand one of your rear guards, giving you a 4th attack every turn. Your units just have to boost 5 times that turn in order to activate this. So 3 times boosting into Lianorn, once boosting into your other rear guard, and then once boosting into Resonance Dragon himself. Now, he does put himself into your soul as part of this cost, so it is a -1. But he does turn himself into a soul resource, which can be very helpful in this deck since it can get quite soul blast heavy. The ride line uses up 2 of your soul in and of itself, and then of course Lianorn's skill costing a soul every turn too. So soul can get pretty tight, especially if you miss your Persona rides. So even though this is a minus, turning it into that extra soul can also be very helpful as well. So overall, this is just one of the most powerful cards in the deck. And especially thanks to the timing of this card, since you'll be attacking with your Vanguard first, which has triple drive, and then attacking with your other rear guard next, and then this one third, and then restanding your other rear guard. Due to that order, what you can do is you can actually stack any triggers you get onto your other rear guard that you plan to restand off a Resonance Dragon. And you can actually double your mileage out of all those triggers that you get. So that can make those rear guard attacks pretty threatening, especially if you get a crit or something. You could potentially have a 2 crit rear guard swinging twice per turn. If you get an over trigger, you can potentially have 200 million plus attacks in one turn. So being able to stack those triggers onto a rear guard and then essentially reuse them can be very, very dangerous. So, absolutely one of the best cards in the deck. Definitely want it as a 4 of. So, next for the grade 3s, I am running 1 copy each of the 3 order cards that kind of are associated with this deck. None of these are really necessary, so if you want to choose not to run any of these and replace them with whatever else, you can feel free to do so. But I am running 1 copy of the normal order. Fun Marching. So you can play it with a Soul Blast 1, and it lets all of your grade 1 or less rear guards get power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So simple skill, just powering up all of your grade 1s. It is a Soul Blast cost, which, like I just said, Soul can get tight in this deck, so you do want to be careful with your timing of it. But even with just your back row full of grade 1s, this will give an extra 15k to your Vanguard, and then an extra 5k to 2 of your rear guard attacks. Potentially more than that if you have some grade 1s in your front row as well, which we do have a few grade 1s that can work quite well in the front row. So, just a simple power-up card. Next up, I also have one copy of Happy Dreaming Festa. So if you have a Vanguard with Lianorn in its card name, you can play this with a Counterblast 1. And it lets you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 2 grade 1 or less unit cards, call them to rearguard circle, and shuffle your deck. So this is basically just a Counterblast 1 for a +1 if you do call 2 units out of the top 7. And it's just a good way to dig through your deck and fill in your board. Again, filling up your back row is very, very important, since if you can't get 3 boosters into your back row, your deck pretty much bricks. So you want to be able to fill in that board, and being able to call 2 grade 1 or lowers from your deck can be very helpful in doing that, especially against control decks. So, can be a pretty useful skill. So then lastly for the grade 3s, we have one copy of Sympathize Decibel. So you can play it with a Counterblast 1, and it lets you draw a card, choose a card from your hand, call it to rearguard circle, or discard it. And if you called a card until end of turn, that called unit cannot attack, and gets power plus 10,000. So this skill is very similar to Lianorn's activate ability, letting you draw 1 and call 1. It is a ±0 since it's an order card, but the unit that you call off of it does get an extra 10k at the cost of not being able to attack that turn. So if you call something, just make sure it's something that you call to your back row to be a booster. And in which case, since it gains an extra 10k, that's an extra 10k power both to your Vanguard attack and to one of your rearguard attacks as well, if you put it, one of your rearguard columns. So again, kind of a situational card, but can be very helpful as well. So that's all the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s, we actually are only running one grade 2 in the main deck, which is 3 copies of Creed Assault. So he has 2 continuous abilities, first of which says if your rearguard did not stand by a card's effect this turn, this unit cannot attack. But then he has a second continuous ability that says during the battle this unit attacked a Vanguard, this unit gets power plus 10,000. So he's a 20k beater for free, but he has that restriction of you do have to stand a unit by a card effect before he can be able to attack at all. But thanks to Lianorn's skill, restanding 2 of your back row units, he should always be able to attack, no problem, since you'll be attacking with Lianorn first, and she restands at the end of her battle. So he's basically just a free 20k beater on your board. He's the card I usually like to have as my restand target for Resonance Dragon, since he's 20k on his own, 30k on Persona Ride turns, plus whatever triggers you stacked on top of him as well. So he can hit very big numbers and potentially swing twice. So very helpful card. So that is all the grade 2s. So moving on to the grade 1s, first off we have 4 copies of Lively Rhythm Biara. So her auto ability says when the attack this unit boosted hits a Vanguard, you can put a grade 2 or less card from hand into your soul and draw a card. So she is just a hand filter, but the main point of this card is to get the extra soul resource. Like I said, soul can get very, very tight in this deck, so she can let you cycle a card from your hand into your soul while replacing it with a draw. She does have to boost a hit in order to get this, but if you, again, put her in your left or right back row rearguard circle, then she'll be boosting 2 times each turn, once to your Vanguard and once to one of your rearguards. So you do have 2 chances for an attack to hit and the skill to go off each turn. So she can be very helpful in replenishing your soul. Next up, we have 4 copies of Performing Pedal Diantha. So her auto ability says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from hand, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can Counterblast 1 to choose a grade 3 or less card from your drop and call it to rearguard circle. So just a Counterblast 1 for a +1, letting you revive any unit from your drop. Very helpful skill. Can cycle another booster back onto your board if you need one in your back row. It can cycle important front row units back as well, since it's grade 3 or less that it calls from your drop. So you can cycle a Resonance Dragon back onto your board that you put into your soul and then soul blast it out. You can call him back to reuse his skill. You can call back a Creed Assault that you had retired by one of your opponent's skills, or you had to intercept away, or whatever. So, very versatile and very helpful card. And then additionally, she has our continuous ability that says during your turn, if you have 2 or more grade 1 or less rear guards in your back row, this unit gets power plus 5,000. So again, that should pretty much always be online, so she's going to be a 13k body on board too. So she's a 13k booster if you got her in the back row, or she can be a 13k attacker if you don't have Creed Assault or whatever and you need a attacking unit in the front row. You can plop her there, and it's just to be able to at least poke your opponent's Vanguard. Next up, we got 2 copies of Marching Debut Purite. So her continuous ability says during your turn, if you have 3 or more grade 1 or less rear guards, this unit gets power plus 5,000. So very simple power-up skill, really easy condition to meet. You just need 3 or more grade 1 or less. That includes her, so you just need her and 2 more. She is just a 13k body on your board. Nothing real special, but again, she can go in your front row and your back row, wherever you need her to be. So, can be a helpful card, and also fantastic artwork. So next we have 2 copies of Ensemble of Smiles Amelie. So her auto ability says when this unit boosts, if you have other grade 1 or less rear guards, this unit gets power plus 2,000 until end of that battle. Then if it boosted a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, you can counterblast one and soul blast one to draw a card. So this is a card that isn't strictly necessary. She is another draw option for the deck, but she's also another soul blast cost as well. So you do have to be kind of selective about when you use her ability. But if you have the extra soul, then you can use her ability to get extra draw when she boosts Lianorn. And even without paying the cost, she still gets the power gain, so she will be a 10k booster on your board. So she does make a good unit to put behind Resonance Dragon, since she can make magic numbers with him. So not a strictly necessary card, but it is one I do like to have for the extra draw option. So next we have 1 copy of Recorder Raccoon. So his auto ability says when this unit boosts, if you have a Vanguard with Lianorn in its card name, your opponent cannot intercept until end of that battle. So this is another card that's not necessary at all. I am mostly running him just for the artwork because I think he's really cute. But he does give a slight guard restrict to 2 of your attacks per turn, since he'll be boosting both your Vanguard and a rearguard. So blocking your opponent's intercepts for 2 of your attacks can potentially screw with their defense. So he can just be an annoying card as well. So lastly, for the grade 1s, we just have our Sentinels. So we have 3 copies of Custodial Dragon, just your standard Perfect Guard, as well as 1 copy of the Blitz Order Elementaria Sanctitude, which you can play without paying the cost if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So that's all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we just have the trigger lineup, which is 7 crit, 2 front, 2 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have 3 copies of Melodia Pomera, so just your vanilla crit. Additionally, we have 4 copies of Aspiring Maiden Alana. So crit with a skill, at the end of the battle it boosted, you can put it into your soul to choose one of your units, and it gets power plus 2,000 until end of turn. So this can be another soul gain option if you're really desperate for the resource. Next, for the fronts, we have 2 copies of Frenzied Heiress. So front with a skill, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, gets shield plus 5,000. So your 20k shield, front trigger. Next, for the draws, we have 2 copies of Serene Maiden Lena. So draw with a skill, same as the fronts, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, shield plus 5,000. So your 10k shield, draw trigger. And then for the heal, we have 4 copies of Flowery Tone, which is just your vanilla heal. As always, if you want to run any of the effect heals, feel free to do so. So then lastly for the over trigger, we have 1 copy of Source Dragon Deity of Blessings, Bless Favor. So his additional effect lets you draw a card, choose one of your units, it gets critical +1 until end of turn. All of your front row units get power plus 10,000, and if your damage zone has the same number of cards as your opponent's or more, choose a card from your damage zone and heal it. So a crit, front, draw, and heal all rolled into one. Like I mentioned earlier, you can give that 100 million power to the Vanguard you restand off of Resonance Dragon's effect, giving you potentially 200 million plus attacks per turn. If they perfect guard your Vanguard or something, you give the crit to him as well, giving you 200 million 2 crit attacks, making it even more dangerous. So, very, very helpful card. So that is the deck. So we will go ahead and have our one fight with it. And let's fight Mika this time. And we will be going first.
Stand up, Vanguard.
Alright, so let's drop Biara to ride. And then we can just end our turn. Which, fun fact, the voice actress that plays Urara actually does the voice for her in both Japanese and English, which is pretty cool. And we'll let this attack through. And we get a heal trigger, but unfortunately we have nothing to heal. So that trigger is wasted. Alright, so let's drop... And we'll drop that order, I guess. Ride Rectina. And then Gracia will call herself from Soul to Rearguard Circle. So we'll put her there. And I think that's all. So we'll just go ahead and attack. And she gets a crit trigger that is also wasted. Then Melty lets her draw a card. And we'll let that one through. And we'll let that one through too. And we get a crit trigger, which actually does help us this time, because now Melty won't be able to hit anything. Alright, so let's discard Creed Assault to ride Lianorn. And Rectina skill will let us Soul Blast. can superior call one from our drop, so we will call back Biara over here. And then we will go ahead and use Lianorn's activate skill to counterblast. And we will draw one and call one. So let's call Resonance Dragon. Hang over there. And then we'll call Diantha as well. And use her skill to counterblast. And we will revive Creed Assault and put him over there. And now we have our field all set up and ready to go. So we will attack with the Vanguard first, not boosted, because we want to resolve her skill to Soul Blast one and discard one. So let's see, we'll drop that Diantha. To have our entire back row boost Lianorn to 47,000. And we do get triple drive on this attack. And we get a crit trigger, nice. So we will give that crit to the Vanguard and the power to Creed Assault.
Damage check. Damage check.
So since she boosted an attack that hit, we could use Biara's skill right now, but I'm actually not going to. But we will resolve Lianorn's skill, which will let us restand two of our rear guards. So we'll restand Diantha and Biara. So now Creed Assault can attack since we restood a unit with a card effect. So we'll have Creed Assault attack. He'll gain an extra 10k from his skill. She gets a heal trigger, which she does get. And again, we could use Biara's skill, but I'm not going to at the moment. So then we'll attack with Resonance Dragon. And she guards. Now we can use Resonance Dragon's ability to counterblast and put him into our soul. And now we can restand a rear guard, so we'll restand Creed Assault and attack with him once again. And again, he gains a 10k boost. But she guards. And Melty will let her draw again.
Vanguardにアタック。スキルを発動するわ。
And let's see, I think I'll let that one through. And we get a heal trigger, which we do get. So we'll heal one and give that power to the Vanguard. And let's see, I think I would like to keep Creed Assault around, so I think I'm actually going to guard that one.
Vanguard にアタック。スキルを発動するわ。
And now that needs a trigger to even hit, so I think I'm going to take the chance and let it through.
ドライブチェックね。ドロートリガー。
Oh, she got a draw trigger.
パワープラス。
That's alright though.
ドライブチェックね。オーバートリガー。
Oh, and then she got her over trigger on top of it. Well then. That means all of her rear guards will have an extra 10k for the rest of the game.
絶対に負けられない。
That's still just 1 damage, so.
ダメージチェック。ターン。私のターン。ドロー。
Alright, so now we can persona ride.
これ私の音色。ペルソナライド。
So let's see, I will go ahead and use Lianorn's ability again to counterblast and draw 1, and with perfect timing we drew Resonance Dragon, so we will go ahead and call him to rearguard. And I think we are good to go. So we will go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first, again not boosted. And we'll use Lianorn's ability to Soul Blast and discard 1. So let's see, we will discard... we'll drop that Creed Assault, I guess. So once again, our entire back row boosts our Vanguard to 57,000 plus triple drive. And she perfect guards.
完全ガードするわ。ドライブチェック。ドライブチェック。ドライブチェック。クリティカルトリガー。
And we got a crit trigger. So we will give both those effects to Creed Assault. So then Lianorn's heal lets us restand our 2 rear guards again. And then we can attack with Creed Assault, who gains 10k for 48,002 crit. Oh, she lets it through.
ダメージチェック。ダメージチェック。
And once again, that triggers the aura skill, and let's see, I think I actually will go ahead and resolve that. So we put a grade 2 or less from our hand into our soul. So we'll shove Recorder Raccoon. And then we'll get to draw 1. So then we can attack with Resonance Dragon. And she perfect guards again. But then we can use Resonance Dragon skill to counterblast and put him in the soul. And restand Creed Assault, who can then attack again for 40,002 crit. Oh, she's gotta let it through. And we got her with that one, alright. So we took her out before she could even hit grade 4. Alright, so there you go. That was my Lianorn deck. I do like this deck quite a bit. It's probably one of my favorite Stoicheia decks to play. But anyway, I will be back soon with more deck profiles. I believe next up I'll be doing my Draw Jeweled deck. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.